The hero defeated the Demon King and all his minions. The goddess thanked him for this hard work. Now this world will not be threatened in the next 5,000 years. The guy was glad about it because that's what he was aiming for. All the failures were worth it. The hero killed not only the Demon King but also the Demon God. The guy's name was Kazu. Namba, he was the first to cope with this problem. In honor of this, the goddess was ready to give the guy a choice, or he could go to heaven, where he would be resurrected, or the guy could return to his home world. The guy thought about it in his world. He was an employee MP of a black company, and not infrequently stayed in the office overnight. He then reincarnated in the world of sword and magic. At the age of 17, the end, he sacrificed his second life to save this world compared to his homeland progress. Here lagged far behind, but the guy had no desire to stay in a world filled with painful memories. After that, the guy said that he wanted to be transported to his homeworld. The goddess wished him luck. Kazu was not going to continue living this life. The guy began to think that he would do the first thing in his homeworld. He wanted to throw a letter of resignation in the face of the boss. He also wanted to watch anime, to watch all the things that he didn't have enough time for. He was all in anticipation. The guy started using his magic. He didn't know what would happen to her for 17 years in the new world. Magic very often helped the guy out. He especially improved it to fight demons. She fulfilled her purpose. Even if the guy could have taken her with him, he would hardly have found a use for her. The guy's thoughts were interrupted by the process of transferring the hero to his home world. The guy is already tired of being the strongest magician in this world. A moment later, when Kazu opened his eyes, he saw the sky. He started to get up to look around. There was a soccer ball lying next to the guy's hand. There was blood on the hero's face, as well as other scuffs and wounds. He did not understand what was happening. The other guys who were standing nearby started laughing, calling his block a very good face. One of the guys started apologizing for hitting the hero. The football player did not think that he would cause such damage with his punch. The hero did not understand what the blonde was talking about. He began to make fun of the fact that the hero lost his memory from the blow. The hero began to think about who he is, where he is, what year it is. Kazu remembered that the arrogant football player studied with him in high school. After that, a girl began to approach the guys. The guy realized that he was still in his home world in Japan, but in the past, the girl approached Cass, asking his condition. She began to stretch out her hand with a napkin. She wanted to wipe the blood from the hero's face. The guy remembered that the girl's name was Ui, and said her name. The girl became confused. She did not understand what was happening to the hero. The guy remembered that Shiratori Yui is the daughter of the president of a world-class corporation. The girl was a school idol with a semi-European appearance of the Scandinavian type. The girl said they should go to the infirmary. Ui was the boy's childhood friend. The guy couldn't remember what happened after studying with Ui. After high school, there was a void in his memory. The blonde did not understand what Ui had forgotten in this place. He began to prepare for the kick by putting the ball on the ground. He lifted the ball up a bit and hit it with all his might. The ball flew straight at the head of the hero, who did not see the ball. The guy, he began to feel strange. Suddenly, he turned around and hit the ball with his hand. This surprised the rebel, who did not expect such a reaction from the hero. After that, the ball flew into the blonde man, hitting him in the face. The guy's fist was damaged because the blow was powerful, but then the blonde man fell to the ground. Blood appeared on his face. Yui asked the hero how he could do this, and the guy began to understand what had happened. He realized that he still had abilities from another world even after moving to his home world. The guy turned to the side and stopped. He decided to try to use his abilities. He aimed at the leaves of the tree. He clenched his finger to strike with magic. After that, magic flew out of his hand, which tore a leaf on the tree. The guy realized that his theory was confirmed. He really had magic from the past world. The guy turned to Ui. He asked her what year it was, which surprised the girl. She said it was 97. She didn't understand if the guy was okay. He was surprised. He remembered that in 2097, the film version of the popular anime was released. The hero realized that the goddess from the previous world returned the guy to the prize. Same age at which he was reincarnated in another world. Now he was 17 years old, 3 times already. He understood that, in fact, he had already lived for 60 years and was an old man. Night fell. There was blood on one of the shops in the city. One girl was licking another who was covered in blood. The guy was levitating in space between the moon and the earth. The guy was able to get into space, the protective barrier, air compression, invisibility, high-speed flight to break through the atmosphere worked in this world. The guy noticed that his body began to ache after using magic. The guy understood that he couldn't fully use magic this way because he only used it a little bit, but his arm hurt a lot. Then the guy decided to fix this problem. He began to fill his body with magic, so he tried to tear all the muscles in his body after the breakup. He instantly restored them with healing magic. It was painful. The guy had to repeat these actions from time to time. After that, he managed to achieve a result. Now the hero had the body of a professional athlete. It was a cheat way to achieve such a result. After that, he stopped swinging this new body had to withstand the magic of the hero, but he knew that he would hardly need magic. After that, he landed on the moon. Checking his body, a crater appeared on the moon, which the guy wanted to remove because he should be careful in. Yui walked through the night city. She recalled the strange behavior of Kazu, who did not look like his usual self, but the guy held the girl's hand again for a long time. She went into the park. It brought back memories of where she first met Kazu back in kindergarten. Then the girl got lost, but the hero began to her down. He offered to play together, but during the game they got dirty. An adult started scolding them. She walked past the bench. She attracted Yui's attention, which caused her to turn back to inspect her. She noticed the blood on the bench. She was surprised by this. She understood that it was blood. There was a monster sitting on a lamppost behind her. He jumped off the lantern and began to run at Yui after that blood appeared in the air. The guy was filling up the crater at that time. He felt something strange. He realized that something was happening to Yui. The guy felt a strange feeling. The guy accidentally left a signal magic on Yui. When the girl stretched out her hand so that the guy could get up and go to the infirmary, the guy put his magic on it. It was an unconscious habit he had acquired in another world. He thought that such magic would not work in this world. The guy began to return to Earth. He did not want to do nothing. He didn't know what had happened to Yui, which was why he was rushing at great speed. The monster broke the ground beneath it. The monster began to look at Yui, who had not lost in the battle with the demon. This monster was called Valiant. Yui realized that she tossed the bag aside. She began to prepare for battle because now she knew who she was fighting against. She started using Gunjan. A magic time circle appeared near the girl's hand. The girl felt bad. It was a side effect of supplying magic to a divine artifact. It was difficult to get used to it. She rushed forward at the enemy. Valiant did not expect this decision from Yui. Girl kicked the monster's head. After that, the monster flew off to the side for several tens of meters. The weapon against the Valiants was the divine artifact gun. It's powerful enough to pierce through an airy body. But Valiant, there was still alive, but he had significant wounds on his face. The guy was still flying towards Yui. He realized that there was someone next to Yui. He also realized that there was definitely magic involved. He did not know that there was something next to Yui. Like this in his world, he didn't know how it all related to Yui. The guy realized that he looked just like a character from his favorite anime, which was very exciting. The monster began to attack the girl. Valiant struck out with his hand, but the girl dodged and grabbed his arm. After that, she began to kick, but the monster blocked the blow. Valiant grabbed the girl's leg and threw it to the side. Yui was able to land successfully after the throw. She was surprised that G's attack didn't work. The enemy was much tougher than the robots in training. Valiant continued to fight. He was very fast. Yui saw the difference in strength because even with a divine artifact, she can't do anything to the enemy. Then the girl began to use a different battle tactic. She created spikes in front of her, which blocked the path for Valiant. Yui decided to bet on speed. She turned on the border mode. The guy noticed that Yui's magic power had increased. Valiant was hit by several spikes that pierced his body. After that, Yui began to approach the enemy. She used her magic to defeat Valiant. She pierced the enemy with her magic using the spear of the monkey. Spirit Yui was tired after this battle. She realized that she still managed to defeat an opponent who was stronger than her. She fell to the ground. Exhausted, she didn't think it would be so hard for her, but she was still able to defeat the enemy. Valiant began to evaporate. Yui couldn't have imagined that she would use a divine weapon in her first real battle. The girl started to leave, but she was hit by a spear which wounded the girl. She fell to the ground and looked back. There were 3 enemies behind her. She was horrified by this because she barely coped with one such opponent. But now there were 3 of them. One of the enemies approached. Yui Valiant kicked the girl, causing her to fly into the air. They started laughing about it. Yui realized that the opponents were playing with her. At this time, a light appeared in the sky above the monsters. The guy flew up to Yui in an instant, putting up a barrier. Girl was surprised to meet the hero. The guy realized that the situation was serious. The Valiants became angry after the appearance of such a powerful guy. The monster began to prepare to strike, creating a spear of magic. The girl started screaming. She wanted to warn the guy about the attack. The guy just snapped his finger, and magic began to manifest itself with just one click. He struck the monster with his magic. After that, he approached the enemy and stuck his hand into the enemy's body. After that, he tore out Valiant's heart. Yui was in shock. She didn't understand what Kazu had done after that. The heart began to evaporate. Yui didn't understand how strong the guy was, because he pierced a Valiant's breastplate with his bare hands, but even a tank shell wouldn't leave a scratch on her. The girl began to think that the guy had a divine weapon. Yui began to shout that the Valkyries were still on the battlefield, that they began to attack the guy. The hero realized that such monsters in this world are called Valkyries. The guy was behind the backs of the enemies in an instant. In an instant, the guy managed to inflict a fatal wound on one of the enemies too. Was surprised by her childhood friend's speed and skill. The Valkyries didn't understand how Kazu could fight like that after that. As the second enemy died, Kazu began to fight with the last one. The guy didn't make much effort to defeat Valkyrie. The enemy's armor began to break. Yui watched the battle between Kazu and Valkyrie. The two opponents were defeated in an instant. Yui got to her feet. She was going to ask the guy about his powers. The guy didn't know if he should tell the girl the truth or not. He didn't know if Yui would believe him. If he told her the truth, he was going to tell her the truth. Anyway, he said that he was a real Kazu, but he had reincarnated in another world and returned back to his body today. The girl began to call her brother. She said that breakfast had been prepared, but he did not answer her. Then she began to go up to her brother's room on the second floor to call him. She opened in the door to Kazu's room. She thought he was asleep because that's what he always did. The guy greeted his sister Futaba. The girl was very surprised and greeted him the same way. She didn't understand why the guy didn't answer her because he wasn't sleeping, but he was thinking at that moment. Feud found it strange that the guy woke up so early, because he usually woke up at the last minute. The guy turned to his sister. He said he wanted to cook breakfast himself tomorrow. This shocked the girl, who did not expect this from her brother at all. She did not understand why her older brother decided to do homework, but he thought it was strange because he had lived alone for 20 years. He said it out loud, which is why the girl asked him again, but the hero did not repeat his words after that. He began to stroke his younger sister's head. Since they are brother and sister, they should help each other more. The words inspired the girl, who still did not understand how her brother had changed. She said, Kazu was late, but these were just memories. Currently, Yui said that if a person is eaten by a Valiant, then the existence of the deceased will be erased. The girl asked if the hero remembers his parents. He said he remembered them, but was immediately surprised. He didn't understand what was going on with his memory. When he tried to remember his parents, gaps appeared in his memory. He realized how his parents died. Yui apologized. She did not want to involve the hero in all these dark affairs, but she can't forgive the Valiants. She wanted the guide to help her because his power from another world is real. The guy also remembered that when he tried to remember his girlfriend, when he first appeared in his native world, he felt the same gaps, the same emptiness. He imagined the dead Yui. Then the hero asked Yui to let him fight with her against monsters. The next day, the guy was at school. He didn't know who the Valiants were. He was an ordinary high school student, which is why he did not know about the existence of such monsters. He decided to ask Yui about these monsters later. Suddenly, someone came up to Sess. It was Yui who made the Ben. She offered to have lunch with her. He didn't understand why the girl had so suddenly asked him to have lunch together. Then she reminded him of his words. They need to stick together because it will be better and more convenient on the roof. A guy asked about a divine artifact. He guessed that Yui's black tights were the weapon. It was a copy of a divine artifact, or rather made from Valiant materials. It was the only weapon that a person could use when fighting them. The guy realized that this is an extremely valuable thing. According to Yui, there were only a few of them in the world. There were also few people who could adapt to them. After that, the blonde man began to approach the guys. He did not understand why Yui rejected his offer, but he was having lunch with Kazu. He wanted the girl to go with him. After all, if she agrees, then her school life will be much more fun with him. But the girl could not accept his offer because in her family such a thing would not be welcome. Then the guy grabbed the girl by the hand by force. Kazu, who was sitting next to him, began to release some magic that was on his fingers. He threw one of the chopsticks with which he was eating food into the offender's face. Because of the magic, it flew very fast. After that, she returned back to the hero's hands. Blonde Kakaga was furious. He began to shout at Kazu. His screams were heard by everyone. He did not understand what the hero had done. He grabbed him by the shirt and demanded an explanation. Yui asked him to stop. Kagawa didn't understand what Yui found good in Kazu. The blonde man said that the hero should fight him after that. Everyone already knew that Kazu and Kakaga would fight. They chose the kendo hall for the fight, which surprised many. The hero did not understand how everything turned from a trifle into a sword fight. The blonde man advised the hero to put on a mask for battle. He thought that if Kazu didn't wear it, he would knock his brains out. The The hero asked why Kakaga. It wasn't wearing a mask. He said that he had done a lot of kendo in the past. In his opinion, Kazu would not be able to do anything to him. The crowd was rooting for Kakawa. The guy didn't understand what was happening to others. Blonde man said that if he wins, Kazu will no longer be able to approach Yui. The hero did not understand why the blonde man was making such demands, but he had already rushed into battle. He quickly swung and hit, but the hero was able to dodge the attack. Kakawa didn't understand how the hero dodged his attack. Kazu realized at that time that the blonde was not lying about his kendo classes. He continued to strike at the hero, but he blocked them. Kazu saw that his opponent was aiming at key points without any hesitation. After that, he hit the blonde man's torso with one blow. Kagawa didn't understand how he was able to miss a kick from a rookie. The crowd was surprised. They did not know that such a thing would happen. The blonde man was furious. He didn't want to hold back anymore. Yui began to worry that he would be able to harm Kazu, but the guy dodged and began to prepare for his blow. He struck with his sword so hard that the opponent was stuck to the floor. At that time, the raven was flying to his master, the god of thunder. He had almost reached Thor, who was sitting on his throne. God asked what news the servant had brought, and was not in the mood. He was ready to kill the raven if it made a lot of noise. Raven said that 3 dark Valiants died at the hands of humans. 4 immediately went berserk, knocking everything off the table. He became very interested, said he wanted to go there. He will begin this. When the gates are ready, after a while, Yui and the hero were training in the gym. The girl practiced martial arts. She was trying to hit hard. The guy saw that the girl did not have enough footwork because she did not use them at all. After a series of attacks, the girl began to rest. She asked Kazu for his opinion. He saw the girl's flexible and slender muscles, but at best she could only be called a very good athlete if a girl does not build muscles beyond the human level. Then her body will not withstand a magical attack. She thought she would lose speed if she pumped. The guy said that the most important thing is the quality of the muscles, not their quantity. He offered her a taste of the thing he held. It was magic for muscle training. He said that with the help of magic you can break muscle fibers. Yui was confident in herself, so she agreed. It turns out that after the incident in the kendo hall, Yui asked the hero to train her, then the Prakyu. Guy began to use his magic to tear Yui's muscles. The girl felt severe pain, which caused her to fall to the floor. She felt very bad. She didn't think it would be so difficult. At that time, there was still talk at school about Kazu's victory over Kakawa, about how the hero won with just one punch. Kakawa was in the infirmary after the battle. A lot of schoolgirls visited him. The guy said that he slipped and accidentally fell, but inside he still did not understand how the guy was able to defeat him. The schoolgirls surrounded the blonde man. We were worried about him at this time. A classmate of the guy came. She wanted to take care of him, but the other girls did not want to give the competitor such an opportunity. The guy asked the others to leave. He wants his classmate to stay with him. After that, the girls left their friends alone. After that, they began to caress. The guy wanted a classmate named Ha to take care of him. Then, he put her on the cot. The guy wanted to do it with Yui, but he couldn't. He wanted to conquer her by force. He began to change, became more angry. The girl did not understand what was happening to her friend. The guy felt a hint of magic for a moment. Suddenly Yui called him. She couldn't stand such pain anymore. She asked he be stopped. The guy apologized. He went to his girlfriend's back and began to help relieve the pain by using recovery magic. The guy understood that this process was unpleasant. But if you do this procedure 24 hours a week, then the body will be able to withstand the magical load. After that, the guy asked if Yui could show him what a divine artifact was capable of by applying the technique on a mannequin. She began to activate Gungar. She felt that the recoil was less than the usual. According to the hero, this was the first effect of muscle training. The guy asked to use his techniques before that. He corrected the magical contour in her body. She used the full power of her power. The guy watched her closely and drew conclusions. The girl was surprised by her own strength because the mannequin broke very quickly. She felt fine after using the artifact. She began to rejoice because she became a little stronger. The guy told Yui that she couldn't use the now divine artifact yet, which surprised her. She did not understand the reason. It turns out, according to the guy, the artifact does not take into account the load on the user at all. If Yui continued to use it, she would only be able to endure with a few years and then die. He thought that this could have caused Yui's death. In his first life, the guy did not know why the president's daughter was entrusted with such a dangerous thing. The parents handed over the mission to their daughter. Her father had long wanted to establish a connection with an organization fighting Valiant. At some point, he came to an organization that had problems with financing. The organization managed everything from behind the scenes. Yui's brother got his father's firm, and the girl inherited her mother's blood, capable of controlling the artifact, so she moved to the combat department. The guy realized that her father was only using his daughter, but he didn't want to tell the girl something like that. But after that, the guy still forbade her to use the artifact, but she couldn't fight Valiants without it. The guy said that this ban does not always apply. The girl did not understand what the guy meant. The guy grabbed his girlfriend's tights. He needed contact. Yui didn't understand what the guy was doing. He asked to be patient because it was a matter of life and death. The girl stood there and did not know what to do because everything happened suddenly. The guy managed to better understand the structure of the magic circuit. He only had to reduce the load while maintaining the flow power. The guy decided to just fix it with his magic. Suddenly, he stopped exploring the artifact. A blonde man entered the building. He turned into a Valiant. He was covered in blood. The guys were surprised by the guy's transformation. He had a classmate's head in his hands. The guys saw her and immediately realized that she was dead. The guy began to feel a strange feeling again. He tried to remember her, but there were gaps in his memory. He realized that the blonde man had become a Valiant. The guy thought that Valiants use people to materialize in this world, but this was the first time Yui had heard such a hypothesis. She knew that Valiants came from another world and devoured people. Kakaga raved that he had finally found a strong man. He threw high his head at the guys. The guy saw that there was a lot of magic power in his head, but he was ready to fight. He began to use his magic. He cut through the projectile that was flying at them. The guy informed Yui that their training was postponed. He asked the girl to step aside. The guy had a sword in his hands. He waited until the enemy began to attack. The blonde man began to transform after the reincarnation. Thor appeared, who was glad to meet. It was not easy for him to appear in this world. In Narrow Gate, he began to laugh, because he did not expect to see the man who defeated the 3 Valkyries. Such an ordinary guy, Yui did not know who appeared in front of them, because he was too intelligent for a monster. The guy noticed that the stranger had great magical power. He was comparable in strength to the Demon King. The guy asked him about the gate. He realized that monsters still use people to get into this world. God began to introduce himself. He gave his name and immediately began to prepare to attack. He summoned lightning into his hand. After that, he wanted Kazu to taste his blow. The lightning turned into a hammer, and in an instant moved to another place. After that, Thor hit the ground with a hammer. Everything started to collapse. The guy realized that Thor was not going to talk to him. He realized that God was in front of him, and he blocked the blow with his barrier. Thor realized that his opponent was not so simple. Thor was surprised that the guy was able to resist hammer and remained unharmed. Yui didn't understand what had happened. The guy said that God just hit the earth, causing a powerful shock wave. Thor was impressed by the way the guy was addressing him. He admitted that the hero is a funny. Yui did not know how to resist such a non-standard Valiant. She thought the explosion was supposed to alarm the people in the mansion. The guy wanted to find out what Thor knew at that moment. God did not understand how an ordinary person could challenge him. God did not mind answering the hero's questions, but the hero had to withstand his blow before that and not die. Kazu noticed that a large amount of magical power was concentrated in the heel of the opponent. After the blow, one large crater should remain in this place. Thor began to perform his signature and Joler kick. The guy began to use his weapon to confront the enemy. Then the guy parried Thor's blow. Yui couldn't see anything because there was a huge flash during the collision after the blow. Kazu stood still. Thor didn't know if he was really fighting against a human. Kazu held the weapon in his hands and was ready to continue the fight. He did not understand how the guy could parry his blow using such a strange weapon. Even in the era of mythology, few could repeat such a feat. Thor thought that the problem was with the legs, that they weren't powerful enough. Kazu thought that there was some connection between his words and the fact that Kakawa, who was possessed by Thor, was a member of a football club. God became more and more interesting, and he also began to have questions for the guy. The guy wanted to hear the answers too. His questions, as previously agreed, Thor was ready to answer them, but he continued to enjoy the battle. The guy had the first question. He wanted to know how Valiant get into this world. Said that they get into this world through people. The gods were once closely associated with this world, but now they no longer had the same influence, but they can still appear in the world using people as gates. After that, the guy asked how forgot this ability, but he did not know the answer to this question. He also did not know about when he and others began to appear in this world. Did not know who was helping them in this, but Thor only knew that he was very hungry. Kazu thought that Thor had sunk to the level of ordinary monsters that eat people, but Thor did not want to be compared to ordinary Valiants. In the third question, the guy asked if monsters could live without eating people. Thor believed that they couldn't live like this after that. Kazu decided to end the fight for could compare the guy's intention to Odin when he loses his temper. The guy believed that monsters did not come into this world of their own free will, but it seemed to him that God would no longer answer his questions. For decided to take the Babel seriously. The girl began to call the guy, but he noticed that Thor's magical power had increased. The guy thought that Thor had reached his limit. It was God's turn to ask Kazu. Asked how the guy achieved such power, because not everyone can gain such power. Thor did not understand who the hero was at all.